Hello, everyone, and welcome to Schwab Coaching. My name is Cameron May. I'm a senior manager here at Schwab, and this is Getting Started with Thinkorswim. And the world of trading is just full of new and novel ideas. Maybe it's trading techniques, maybe it's trading strategies. But have you ever looked at a strategy or a new technique and you thought, I wonder, does that thing even work? Or I wonder, would I be good if I were to attempt to implement that strategy? Well, that is sort of leaning into what we would call back testing, taking a new approach and putting it to the test. And Thinkorswim is actually chock full of tools that might assist with that effort. We're going to be talking through 3 tools that a trader might use to back test a new strategy or a new technique on Thinkorswim. So it should be a really good discussion. I think it's going to be familiar to some of you, some of these tools. There's even one that I would refer to as Thinkorswim's trading time machine. That should be intriguing enough. But before we get to any of that, let me first of all say hello to everybody out there who's already chatting in. Hi there out there in YouTube, Will, Richard, Greg, Eva, Life in the Fast Lane, Bush 8531, Robert and Joe, and also saw John and Amy and Brown Buffalo out there and everybody else. Thanks for joining us week after week. We really do appreciate your attendance and your contributions to these discussions. If you're here for the very first time, I want to welcome you as well. And if you're watching on the YouTube archive after the fact, enjoy the presentation, but be aware that you're invited to join us in a live discussion. This one is a Wednesday webcast series that kicks off promptly at 2 Eastern. We'd love to have you here in the live stream. And we also want to let you know, for those that are here attending live, my very good friend Kevin Horner is hanging out in the chats with the live stream audience. He's going to be addressing any questions that I can't get to that come in through the chat. If they're at least somewhat on topic, then Kevin will be there to pick up the slack for me. Thanks for being there, Kevin. And Kevin and I would also like to issue an invitation to everybody watching, whether live or in the archive. If you're not following us on X, if you have an account there on X, give us a follow. That's the best place to connect with your favorite presenters in between these live streams. You can find Kevin on X at Kevin Horner CS, and you can find me there at Cameron May CS. But let's get into this. This is world of back testing. And as we do, of course, we first of all need to consider the risks associated with trading. Risks are real, so these disclosures are important to bear in mind. The information here is for general informational purposes only and should not be considered an individualized recommendation or endorsement of any particular security, chart pattern, or investment strategy. Options carry a high level of risk and are not suitable for all investors. Schwab does not recommend the use of technical analysis as a sole means of investment research. Investing involves risks, including the loss of principal, and quite pertinent to today's discussion, past performance is no guarantee of future results. Okay, so what are we talking about today? We're talking about back testing, taking a new concept about trading. Maybe it's a chart technique, maybe it's an options trading strategy, and then putting that to the test through a series of historical trades to see if it seems to work for that trader. Now, in the old days, we'd had to implement a very manual process. Well, to see if your trading strategy works, you pretend to place a trade and then you wait for a day or a week or a month to see if that thing plans out, see if it goes to your profit target or maybe falls down to your stop level. In any case, it could be a time-consuming approach to putting something to the test before we feel comfortable putting it into real practice. Well, today we're going to be talking about 3 tools that might accelerate that process dramatically. So we're going to set up some conceptual trade ideas and then put them to practice using these 3 tools, and we're going to get some repetition with those tools. So that's how things are going to play out today. So let's go right to Thinkorswim. This is the desktop trading software platform. Can be downloaded from your Schwab Online account. You'll just go to the Trade tab and look for Thinkorswim and click on the big blue button on that page, and it'll walk you through downloading Thinkorswim. And you just log in using your Schwab login credentials. And here we find ourselves on Thinkorswim. Now, I'm going to point out up front, and I'll try to do it again as I'm demonstrating one of these tools, the one that I would refer to, it's just my name, take it or leave it, but I call it the Thinkorswim Trading Time Machine. It's called On Demand. It's only available on the live platform of Thinkorswim because it has embedded within it paper money trading capabilities. So it's not available on paper money because it's a redundancy there. But anyway, let's get into back testing. So let's just suppose that, how about we start off with some stock trading using charts. Let's say that our trader has been introduced to a new chart technique combining a couple of technical indicators. Now, I'm going to use a couple just as examples here. It's not a sales pitch for this combination of technical indicators. We're just using those as the example to sort of build this, this knowledge of our backtesting tools, okay? But let's say that a trader, and how about we just bring up, I'll just go in alphabetical order. We'll start with Apple. I didn't have any plan to use Apple as the example. We'll randomize things with other symbols here in just a moment. But let's suppose that our trader was watching a video or they saw something on some social media platform and somebody says, ooh, you know what you ought to do is use a combination of a trend indicator like a moving average and maybe an oscillating indicator, a momentum indicator like MACD. Sounds like it might be a good idea. Well, let's put it to the test. So how about for Apple? Let's add these two new indicators. So I'm going to add a simple moving average. Let's add that to our chart. And if you're not terribly familiar with simple moving averages or MACD or whatever, you can always pop over to our Trader Talks channel on YouTube and just do a quick search. So let me say I want to look for a discussion covering moving averages in greater detail. So I'm just going to click moving averages, and here we go, exploring moving averages for your time frame, whole moving averages, all sorts of discussions of different types of moving averages where you can get yourself acquainted with these in a little bit greater detail. This is not going to be a technically oriented discussion explicitly for indicators, but I did want to make sure that you're aware, if you're not familiar with the ones that I'm referencing, there are resources to support that learning. All right, but let's actually change our simple moving average, our example, to maybe looking back over the last 50 days. And if you're just as a quick introduction to moving average, as we apply this to our chart, you'll see a little line being applied here to our chart. You'll see the rest of it when I remove this pop-up box. But this is used by some traders as a potential indication of trend, among other things. It might also be used as price floors and price ceilings. But let's say our trader saw somebody saying that it might be an interesting idea to explore using moving averages in combination with, let's say, the MACD. So let's add our MACD histogram, add that to our chart, and let's click apply. And here we now have our trend line and our MACD oscillator. And let's suppose that the proposed trading mechanism, the technique, is to look for an upward trending MACD, or pardon me, an upward trending moving average line with the MACD reaching down to a bright red low and then switching up to a dark red low. You've probably seen me illustrate this sort of a trading technique before. For example, right here is one example of the moving average sliding higher while our MACD oscillator goes from bright red to dark red. And so maybe this is one example of a possible entry signal in this example scenario. And in this case, it seems to have worked out. Well, how can we put that into practice so we don't just get maybe just one or two, or in this case, maybe 4 or 5 examples, but we can get lots of historical examples across maybe a range of time frames? Well, one thing that a trader might do, and this is sort of tool number 1 for doing back testing of charting techniques, is to use the chart itself, but to randomize things a little bit before we attempt to implement the technique. Maybe try to think of a random symbol, and then try to think of a random date in time, and put yourselves in the shoes of a trader, maybe going back to that date in time, maybe with that symbol, and then trading this technique going forward. So let's just say, I don't know if you want to throw in a random date or a symbol here. Let's say we were doing this on, I'm trying not to use all the ones that are in the headlines right now. How about we just do this? Let's go over to the S&P 500. Let's go to the watch list here. Let's go to the public watch list. And we'll go to maybe the S&P 500 component companies. And let's just pull this down to the middle. And how about it's mRNA? And let's say that we wanted to trade this specific technique starting back in 2021. How about June 14th, if that happens to be a trading day? I don't know, it could be a weekend. But I'm going to click on, let's enter mRNA. And let's go back in time, basically, to, what did I say, June 14th of 2021? We're going to need a longer-term chart for that. So I'm going to come up here to my time frame. Let's go to, that's going to be more than 3 years back, so we need a longer-term time frame. Let's bring up maybe a 5-year chart. Let's leave it on a daily chart and click OK. And now we can scroll back in time, back to, as I point here, we can look up in the upper left. Let's find June 14th of 2021. And once I've located that date, there it is, I can click on it and drag back. There we go. So what that does, when we do a click and drag on any time frame in the past, or just any time frame on a chart, it zooms in on that time frame specifically. So now what we're seeing is off to the far right margin, this is now June 14th of 2021. You'll see that right up here, the date up in the upper left. We have essentially gone back in time, and now we can look at our moving average, see what it's doing, and we can see what our oscillator is doing. I can actually see an example of a recent entry, and I did not know that we were going to be looking at Moderna, but very recently, you'll notice our 50-period moving average is going up. Our MACD went down to bright red and turned to dark red. And so for our trader, they may have been looking for a potential entry here. And in that case, that signal seemed to have been a pretty valid signal. It's not always going to be the case. That's a complete data set of one. The nice thing about doing this, though, is that we can take a brand new combination of technical techniques, put them into practice, and then we can actually just advance through time very rapidly and see if there is an apparent consistent performance, at least on this one stock. And we can run through a number of stocks and gain quite a bit of insight, quite a bit of trading experience in a matter of minutes, maybe spend an hour doing this. So let's advance. And what do we see right there? Simple moving average is still rising. Our oscillator has turned from bright red to dark red. And let's say that our trader says, okay, well, there's my signal. Let's make a plan for a trade right now. So there's our entry. How about for this trader, they just make a pretty basic observation. They're going to add their own flavor to this approach. And maybe the plan is buy here, as that MACD and the moving average seem to be signaling an entry. And how about the plan is, if this trade fails, if we go back down below this low, maybe the stock doesn't have the momentum we thought. So maybe just the idea of possible stop down there, maybe around 191 in this case. I'm doing this on the fly. I'm just trying to help us conceptualize how a trader might put into practice in a very quick way a new approach to trading. And let's say that our trader may be happy or satisfied with profits if we can just get up to this previous high. All right, so they built a trade concept for themselves. Let's see what happens. I have no idea. Let's see. Oh, we got close. Did we get there? Are we going to get there? That is teasing with it. You know, sometimes a trader might make a decision to get out. I'm going to let it go. Oops, I accidentally zoomed out too far. That kind of gives away the outcome in this case, but the trader might just continue to implement this, and there are going to be times, I think, is this going to be an example here? There was a signal right here-ish, took a little while to pan out, might have even got stopped out right there. But this is sort of technique number one. Now, if you're not familiar with using this technique, maybe get some practice with it. Bring up a longer term chart, pick a random stock, a random time in the past, and just go back to that date. And again, the process is here, zoom in with a click and drag, and then you can use the little scroll bar down at the bottom to advance things forward or even to go back. We can even advance things one day at a time or go back one day at a time using these little arrows down here in the lower right. Click the first one, it goes forward one day. I think what happened is I accidentally clicked, I went to click on this arrow when we zoomed back out, and I clicked on the double-headed arrow, which is not what we want to do here. There we go. That's a quick way. This was so nice because back when I first started, when I got my first exposure to the markets, this is rolling all the way back to the early 90s. I actually had to subscribe to a charting service where they dropped off. Does anybody remember this? You'd get paper charts dropped off on your doorstep. And look at where we've come in the last, what now, 30 years? Yeah. So that's cool tool number one for back testing strategies. And this is sort of for stock trading. Could it be implemented for options as well? Possibly, yes. Let's go right back here. Let's advance. I know that we now know the outcome, but that's okay. I don't have to repeat how the charts might be used. But let's say that the trader sees this same signal. Yeah, Greg, paper charts, that was ages ago. I know, it was 30 years ago. I can't believe that. But yeah, that was the way that feels like rolling 30 years ago in a way, wasn't that long ago. And yet it kind of feels like going back to the dark ages. Most people, I don't know, didn't even have a personal computer at that time. If you did, you tended to be more in the industry than anything. And everybody else was left to paper charts, and you'd have a newspaper where you'd get maybe a more recent candle, draw it in manually on your chart, use a pencil and a ruler to draw in support and resistance. Yeah, that's a blast from the past. But in any case, let's take this same technique and we're going to add a layer to it. So this is going to be tool number 2 for backtesting. This one that I've already demonstrated, I think you can see could be done quite quickly for stock trading. But what about options traders? I wonder how a call option might have done back at the same time, either entering here or entering here. The problem is, if we go to the trade tab right now, we're getting quotes for 2025. Wouldn't it be nice if we could sort of hop into a little time machine, go back to it was 2021, and maybe buy a call back then, see what happened. Actually, we can do that, and that's using, and it's not going to be the on-demand feature, which I already teased. It's going to be a different feature known as ThinkBack that's hosted on the Analyze tab. Now, ThinkBack is available on Paper Money or on the Live account, as is, of course, the charting that I've demonstrated. But the last tool, the on-demand that we're going to be seeing in a few minutes, is only on Live. So if you're trying to follow along with the last tool that I demonstrate today, make sure that you do it on the Live platform. In any case, how many of you are familiar with ThinkBack? ThinkBack, great name. It does exactly what what the title would suggest it does. It goes back in time and retrieves historical quote data for options and for stocks. But for right now, I'm going to be using it for options, and allows the trader to help visualize previous historical trades, see how they might have panned out. So let's say that our trader is using their charting technique, but instead of buying the stock, they think, I'm going to go buy a call. Let's go to the Analyze tab. Let's go to the ThinkBack tool, and I want to set my date back here to 2021. Now, when we're choosing a date, we can go forward and back 1 year at a time. So notice this took us to 2023. Hit the back double arrows. It takes us back to 2022. Let's go back to 2021, and then we can use the single arrows to just go back 1 month at a time. So there is June of 2021. And if I click on the 14th, you know what? Should we make it that simple? How about we go, let's see, where was that other entry? We already know this outcome. Let's just follow it for fun. How about we go back to this one? What was that? That was, oh, interesting. May 14th. Okay. Let's go back here to May 14th. June, May, there we go. But what this does, whichever date you select here, it now loads up quote information for closing values for the stock and for options. So May 14th happened to be a Friday. That was an expiration for some of these weeklies. But let's suppose at that time we decide to buy an 18th of June call. So we can go to the 18th of June. Right now I'm just displaying 4 strikes, but this option chain functions just like the normal option chain on the trade tab. It's just that now we're seeing 2021 contracts instead of 2025. So if I want to buy, what's our stock trading for? Look at that, it's trading closed right close to 125. How about we would buy the at the money call? I'm just going to click on that, and let's put in an order to just buy one contract. Now we're not going to put it in. This is obviously just theoretical. But this starts to treat this now as an existing trade. And notice over here to the far right, it gives us a profit or loss since we opened this trade function. So now let's follow along. We can see here what happens over the next few days. Stock closes up high. Actually, over the next few days, it drifts lower. What do you think that's going to do to the value of a call? It's probably due to time decay, due to a little bit of slippage in the delta there. We're probably going to see things decay a little bit. So I'm going to use the profit or loss date field here, which goes to, by default, the day that we selected, and let's just advance it just a day at a time. So the 15th, 16th, 17th, what's happening here? Now look over here. You'll notice that, that the profit or loss isn't changing. What's going on? Is the tool broken? No, we just hit a weekend. That's all that's happening. So the quotes aren't updating because I can tell you without even looking, well, we know this because we did look at the chart. The 14th was a Friday, 15th, 16th, 17th, we're getting through the weekend. Let's go on to the 18th. This isn't cooperating so well. We're barely breaking even. But then as the stock begins to advance, I wouldn't be surprised at all to start to see profits start to head higher. So it looks like, yeah, we did get quite a bit of sideways. So what we're doing here is just sort of working our way through this period. And that's updating that trade. So that's a nifty little feature. So now the trader can combine maybe a new charting technique with an option strategy. They could have done, instead of a long call, maybe tried a long put or a vertical spread or an iron condor, all sorts of things. George says, Cam, in addition to on-demand, which is hit or miss, if you have lots of custom, yeah, on-demand is not the custom scripts, which most people are going to be dealing with, not going to be dealing with in this webcast. They don't work going back in time and implementing the custom scripts. It gets a little bit beyond the scope of that technology. Yeah, let's see. All right, I think that addresses that though. But that's a nifty little tool, number 2 here. So now, how do we get back? Well, if we're on the Think Back tool, there's not really any need to skip back to the present day, but we can. If we just want to delete the order that we've created, we can just click the little X, and we can set the date to any new date. So those are a couple of cool tools. Number 1, using charts. Number 2, using the Think Back tool. But number 3 is sort of a combination of all of the above and an expansion in a dramatic way on all of those capabilities. And this is the one that's only available on the live platform. So make sure that we're on live if you're trying to follow along. But it's known as on demand. And on demand is what I refer to as Thinkorswim's time machine. Let me do this. Let me go back to our charts. Let's just go back to the present day. Let's maybe go back to the S&P 500. So there we go. Going back to that 1-year chart, S&P. So as we point at today, you can see this is February 5th, 2025. Just the current day, and that's the last candle on the chart. But what if we'd like to just hop in a time machine and go back to June of 2021 and just have most of the platform function as though we're back at that stage in time? That's what on demand does. So I'm going to click on demand. And as I do that, you're going to see up in the upper left, it says pre-buffering. What this is doing is it's loading all sorts of quote data to the platform. It's updating charts. It's updating options chains. It's bringing all that information, preparing for an examination of the past. Now, when we first launch on demand, you get this really helpful little menu of tips here. So I'm going to read through these. You've just started Think on Demand, sometimes called Think on Demand, in addition to just plain old on demand, a powerful back testing tool that lets you replay any trading day for the last several months, and I've actually tested this, it's actually now closer to 14, 15 years, and test your trading skills with simulated trades based on that data. Capabilities include you can run Think on Demand 24/7 at your convenience, even on nights and weekends. You can select a previous trading day, and it says upper left-hand corner. It's actually up in the upper right-hand corner, as well as fast forward and pause the data or reset the virtual account. And it is accompanied by $100,000 of play money to experiment with over time. You can watch the tick-by-tick price. You can simulate trading stocks and other things. You can watch the profit or loss of the simulated positions on the position statement. So the whole platform starts to update and behave as though we're actually trading back in time. But you can watch the profit or loss of the simulated positions on the position statement as the trading day proceeds, or you can fast forward to another date, and then you can just click on the on-demand button again to go back to your real live trading account. Okay, so as I click on OK, time's going to change here a little bit. It's already gone back a couple of days. This function can't really update to the current day because the current day is still playing out, but we can retrieve anywhere from 48 hours back to about 14 years back. Trade and grow. Yeah, we're still working on that technology. The think on forward or something. Think forward. Yeah. Before we do anything else with this, I do want to point out this left column squishes the functionalities up here. So I'm going to hide the left column for just a moment. And that's important because this is our on-demand button that if we just want to go back to the normal live platform, we'd click on that, and that just goes back to normal. Okay? So we click on demand to launch the tool. We click on demand to shut the tool down. But as a heads up, when we're using this tool, if this left margin is open too wide, that little button disappears and we might leave ourselves stuck in the past. We're not actually stuck in the past. You just need to shrink that left column a little bit, and there's that button again. And you'll also notice as we go to use this tool, it's already preloaded that with $100,000 of play money to go put whatever strategy it is the trader's trying to backtest into practice. So the first step here is to choose a moment in time, and it can be a moment. It's not just a day. With Think Back, we use closing values. With On Demand, it is moment by moment, tick by tick. That is a powerful tool. So if I click on the date here, I can go back a year at a time. I can go back or forward a month at a time. Let's go back maybe to, let's see. We actually did our last option trade on May 14th, so we'll do that. I'm going to choose May 14th here. We can even specify the time of day that we want to go back to. But I'm just going to leave it there on the default and just click go. And now we get that pre-buffering for just a moment, and things just changed. We're still looking at the S&P 500. We still have the two indicators that we've already loaded. But if we go to the candle to the far right, this is no longer February 5th of 2025. We've hopped in our time machine, and we're back here at, did I click go? I didn't select the date. That's what I did. Yeah, sometimes I get ahead of myself. Let's go back here and actually click on May 14th. There we go. Go. Let it think for a minute. Now, we're back on May 14th of 2021. And we're now effectively blinded. I don't know if you noticed when I was using that stock chart, when we zoomed in, could we see into the future a little bit, kind of see how things were going to play out? Yep. Can we see into the future now? No. Now, some traders might have some good insights through paying a lot of attention over time to how things kind of normally played out. But we're essentially flying blind here, like a real trader who is trying to make their best estimate of how things are going to be playing out in the real future. So here's the S&P 500. Interesting time on the S&P, just bouncing off a 50-period moving average, and interestingly also on that day, getting an uptick on the MACD. But not only have the charts updated to May 14th of 2021, if we go to the trade tab now And let's bring up a stock. Should we use a different stock? What should we choose? Let's come over here to our watch list again, kind of move it around a little bit, let it update. How about just BA? Whatever. Let's type in BA. So what we're looking at here is Boeing as of the 21st, not 21st of May of 2021 with that option chain. But you'll notice if you look at the numbers, they are updating just as though the markets are moving in real time. This is tick by tick trading in the past. Very interesting. And from here, we just start to place our trades. Let's go have a look and see what's going on with Boeing at this time. So here's Boeing. Chart maybe doesn't look so intriguing. Let's say maybe the trader looks at this chart and they say, well, maybe I'll move on to a different stock. Let's look at some other ones here. How about let's link our watch list with our chart here. And let's move through and see if we can find something with a more recent signal. Oh, okay, here we go. So here's Bristol Myers. And you can see the stock has pulled down, started to rise, moving average starting to rise again. Let's say that our trader just wants to buy some shares of stock. Maybe they think it's going to go back up to this, back up to these highs. Well, we can just go place a trade. We could also trade options. I'm just going to do a stock trade for this example. Let's click on the ask price. That's going to create a buy order down below. How about should we do 100 shares? Yeah, that'd be $6,400. Let me just widen this out. You can see that's an order for 100 shares. I'm going to put this in a market order. This is a market order for as of back in 2021. If I click confirm and send, I get a pop-up just like I would normally. Buying 100 shares of BMY at the market price as of that date. With market orders, prices can change quickly in fast market conditions, resulting in execution prices can be different from the quotes displayed at order entry. It's a simulated trade. There's not a simulated commission here, but there can be on some sorts in real life. Commissions can be a consideration. But let's send that off. And we just virtually bought 100 shares of BMY. So if we now go to our monitor tab, even the monitor tab is updating in real time. Bought the shares at 64.75. Looks like the last couple of ticks have taken price down, and we can monitor this going forward. We can just sit here and watch the ticks if we want to, or we can start to advance things. If I click on the step forward button up here, keep your eye on the time. So right now it's May 14th, 2021 as of 8:33 local time to me. If I click on this step forward, it's going to bump that forward 10 minutes. How are we doing after 10 minutes? Making a little bit of progress. We can click on another 10 minutes, or we could just skip things forward. How about we go to May 28th? Let's change our time to May 28th. Click go and let that update. You'll notice up here it says pre-buffering. It's loading up that new data. It's a lot of information. It's not just updating the monitor tab here, even though that's what we're keeping an eye on. It's updating the entire platform to be as though it's now May 28th. So now as of May 28th, hey, looks like our trade is doing okay so far. So think about how quickly a trader can gain meaningful insight into at least, a specific strategy or a specific technique, at least using however many points of data they want to use, however many trades they want to implement. I'm kind of trying to talk and thinking about something that Eva's just said here at the same time. That's not a good idea. So let's address what Eva just said. Eva says there's a survey out there. Let me see. There's a survey. There we go. Yep. Kevin's already reposted it. So yes, for the benefit of those that are here in the live stream audience today, there is a survey that's been posted to the chat window. And it's always a great opportunity. If you'd like to give us some honest feedback, we definitely appreciate that feedback. The surveys are really short, 2 multiple choice questions, a comments box, and then a suggestion box. So if you'd like to click on that survey link right now, then give me that honest feedback after the webcast is over. And if you fill it out, I'll promise you, I'll take the time to read through that data. I read through the comments. Eva, yep, I definitely see your comments in those surveys. Definitely always appreciated. RG says, how do you clear on demand? Okay, well, so to shut it off, let's turn it off, and then I'm going to turn it back on because this is important. Let me click on demand right now. So as we click on this, it's just going to shut things down. Notice the on demand button goes back over to where it was, and we're back now in the live account. So these are the actual positions in this account, even though this one's just a demonstration account. This is sort of a demonstration live account. These aren't actually real positions. But yeah, this takes us back to normal. But the trade that we originally placed is still preserved. So if I were to go back here to our on demand, so that historical trade, or if we did multiple trades, that $100,000 account is still working. So if I click on this, I get the little heads up again. I click OK. And what do you know? There's that position, and the clock just keeps ticking right where we left off. Yeah. Now, George says, RG, oh, you're talking about, now if we want to clear everything out, there is a reset button up here. Do we want to reset the time back to current present day, or do we want to reset the entire account? If you're talking about just clearing out these positions, that's how we could do that. George is making reference to a recycle button, which when we have this left column open, let me minimize this a little bit. That button's going to be up here. It's just not going to be as obvious. So make sure, if you can't see all of these tool buttons, just hide the left column. And then you can see that a little more clearly. All right, how about we do a quick option trade here as well? Let's go back to our trade tab. And we bought the stock. How about if we buy a put as well and let them kind of duke it out, see who wins? So to place an option trade, we just go to whatever strike price, whatever expiration the options trader is interested in. Let's say we go out to the 17th of September here. Give this a little bit of time to work through the 17th of September of 2021. And I'm going to go to the put side of things. And how about we just buy, with the stock trading around 66, I'll go with an at the money. That's about the 65. I'm going to click on that ask price. Let's just buy one put contract here. Let's put this in as a market order just to get a quick fill. And again, it's a scary market order from 2021. But let's click confirm and send, buying one 17th of September 2021, $65 put at the market price back then. Notice that there's not a commission reflected here in this on-demand function. That's going to be different than real life. Just remember that commissions can certainly play a role. And I'm going to send that order off. And we just virtually bought one put back in 2021. And now as we come here, we have our 100 shares of stock, and we have our put, and we can even see, let's skip forward. We bought the put for September, so let's not go beyond September. How about by July? I have no idea. Let's go to July 22nd of 2021. Click go, and let's see who's winning this. Now, this is loading up the new information for July of 2021. And we'll keep our eye on the profit or loss since we opened that trade. Okay, 3, 2, 1. There we go. It does take a little bit of time to load, but our stock is actually doing okay, up $252. The put's losing money, so without even going to the chart, what can I suppose is happening here by July 22nd? Probably going up. If we go to the chart now, there's July 2022, and we can see the stock has been moving up for that time frame. That's a pretty nifty tool, isn't it? I'm going to shut it down so we can click on demand. We could, of course, reset that whole account. Let's see that being done. Let's come here. Let's reset the account. Are you sure you want to reset your virtual account? All orders, positions, and balances will be cleared. Let's click yes. They're gone. We have no positions there now. Let's turn off the on-demand. And the next time we were to launch, we'd now just be looking at a nice, clean $100,000. We can start over. So guys, with that, we've accomplished learning about these 3 really powerful back-testing tools that are available on the thinkorswim desktop platform. I do want to emphasize again that third one, the on-demand, or also known as think on-demand function, only available on the live platform. So, but we've set up some example trade scenarios. We've implemented those using historical data, and I think you can see how that could be that could lead to a lot of powerful new insights for a trader who's trying to learn about a new strategy. Maybe they just heard about it and they want to put it through a test. So there we go. Yeah, George, on demand, and this would also be accurate with paper money. You're never going to see like early assignment, those sorts of things. Yeah, they're going to be even at expiration, as you mentioned, the on demand doesn't assign. So, yep, be aware of that. There are going to be some differences between real trading and fake historical trading. Just watch out for those. Will, thank you. Hope you enjoyed that. I think it's always fun to discover new tools, and for some on demand, they're going to go, wow, that was great. Or maybe this just gave you some additional insights into a familiar tool. But this is what we do on Wednesdays. So I hope that you'll put it in your personal calendar to join me on Wednesdays to learn more and more about thinkorswim. I also have other webcasts that are sprinkled throughout the week. I have something new every day of the week, so watch for me on the calendar each day. But I'm going to let you go, and as we do, just remember, if you haven't yet subscribed to our Trader Talks channel on YouTube, do that. It doesn't cost anything. It literally only takes a second. Go down and click on the subscribe button right now. But our YouTube channel is where we host our playlists of previous webcasts. This is where they're searchable. You can search for a specific, let's say, a keyword of interest, or you can just look at the playlists organized by series. You can also join the live stream right there. Another thing that I would definitely strongly suggest is that if you have an account on X, follow Kevin and me on X. That's the best place to connect with us in between these live streams. You can find Kevin on X at Kevin Horner CS. You can find me there at Cameron May CS. Thank you to everybody that's already clicked the like button. That is definitely always appreciated. I can see 37 people have already given the thumbs up or a like in the live stream here. But whether you're watching live or you're watching in the archive, if you watch one of our webcasts and you enjoy it, make sure you click the like button before you shut it down, because that's a pat on the back to the presenter for their efforts. It also gives the webcast a boost in the YouTube algorithm, helps it find a bigger audience, and helps us demonstrate these tools and techniques and strategies and all that other stuff to more people. Hopefully just helping more people. So please do that. All right, everybody, thanks for, if you've already filled out the survey, that's fabulous. If you haven't, click that survey link right now in the chat window, and you can give me your honest feedback now. But everybody, go have a great day. I will look for you in a future webcast. I'll also look for you on X, but whenever I see you again, until that moment arrives, I want to wish you the very best of luck. Happy trading. Bye-bye.